You can, of course, access the money that I am taking, which is very helpful. Because of the NGO, I can take this 1,000, almost like 10,000 crowns, which means like 1,000 and a bit more than 1,000 euros per month from the Swedish government, because I'm part of the NGO and because I study here and because I'm from the European Union, of course. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Octavian. I'm here with Sebastian from Colombia, and we are here at STUDENTV, which is owned by Global Confederation of Romanian Students. We are going to talk about some very interesting stories and how we got to study here in Lund, Sweden, and why we chose this country. And of course we are going to talk about what we are doing at the Global Confederation of Romanian Students and about our the opportunities that we have because of this NGO, and what opportunities you can have as well if you join us. And firstly, let's see, how is Sebastian? How are you, man?
I'm very fine, thank you.
All right, I would just like to start with the beginning of our of your journey regarding studies and how everything started and where you have been from, like when you were born and then where you moved, because I think it's very interesting and people are willing to find out something new and something a different culture and all those kind of interesting stories. So can you tell me please how everything started?
Yeah, sure. Well, it started with I was born here in Sweden actually in 1999, and I was born and raised here. Both of my parents are from Colombia. They were both born in Colombia and they emigrated to Sweden. And I studied here in Sweden until 7th grade. I finished 7th grade, and then I moved to Colombia.
How old were you?
I was 13.
13.
I was going to turn 14 just because we moved in June. My birthday is in July.
Yes.
So we moved to Colombia with my parents because we have a lot of family there. And I have an older sister who is 10 years older than me, but she stayed here in Sweden. So I moved with my parents. We moved to Colombia, and in Colombia I did 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th grade because they only have 11 years of school there. It's not 12 like they have here in Sweden. I know maybe in Romania they
we have the same 12 years of school.
So they only have 11 years.
In which city?
In a city called Villavicencio. It's about 80 kilometers from the capital, Bogota. And there I did those 4th grade. It was pretty difficult to get to a new country. I knew Spanish, but I didn't know like academic terms that you have to know in school. Like I knew home Spanish that my parents had taught me, but it wasn't the same. So it was pretty tough in the beginning. But I managed to overcome all the obstacles. And later on, when I graduated in 2016 in December.
You finish there. You finish the school.
It's from January to December. It's not like from summer to summer. It's from like the whole year.
I understand. Interesting.
I graduated in December 2016.
So that means that you have school on summer as well?
Yeah, we do. We only have like 2 or 3 weeks of holiday. Yeah. So the long holidays are actually in December and January. They have like 2 months.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's good actually because the holidays like Christmas and New Year's Eve, everything is in December, and so you have a lot of, and it's the best weather because during the summer it rains a lot. It rains very much, so it's better in December and January, the holidays.
That's very interesting. We already see some very big differences between like another continent, South America, or especially like Colombia, and here in Europe, because that's totally different. You have to understand these circumstances, and that's interesting. I understand. So the best weather is on winter. Yeah,
it's very hot. It becomes even dry.
I understand.
But it's much better than in the summer.
And like holidays, how long are they usually?
It's from almost all of December until and almost all of January. So it's only like 2 months. It's here in the summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Here it's like July and August.
Yeah. If you are in high school.
Yeah.
Because at the university we have like almost all summer free, which is very
that
good.
is true. So when I moved to Colombia in the beginning, I always had the idea that I wanted to come back to Sweden and study. I want to come back. Even though I graduated with pretty good notes in Colombia, I had 3 different opportunities of scholarships to study wherever I wanted in Colombia, like all the private universities that cost what can be maybe 5,000 euro the semester.
The semester or the year?
The semester.
Like one semester only?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's very expensive.
That's
crazy. And there are very...
So that means 10,000 for 1 year, academic year.
Yeah.
And how long does it take, like, to finish university?
Most programs actually are 5 years.
5 years. Whoa. That means
there are not that many programs that are 3 years, like here in Europe. So of course it is very expensive, and a lot of people don't have the resources to pay university. So either they don't study or they go to a public university. But they are good public universities, but they are very crowded, and it's difficult. So if you're lucky, you have the money to go to one of these expensive universities,
which are private. Yeah,
they are private, of course. So I had the opportunity. I had scholarships.
Can you tell us like from which cities they were? Like from which universities?
The best universities are in the capital, in Bogota,
in Bogota,
and in a city called Medellin, which is also a pretty famous Colombian city. In those cities are the best universities. In my city, they are not that big, and they are cheaper universities, but they're okay. They're pretty good.
So the best university in Colombia is
in Bogota.
How is it called?
I would say the top 3 are Universidad Nacional, which is a public university actually.
It's a public one.
Yeah, it's very famous.
That both private and the public are at the top level.
Yeah, it's one called Universidad de los Andes, which is very exclusive. It's in the northern part of the city, which is the exclusive part, and one in Medellin, which is called Universidad de Antioquia, which is like the region where it is. And those, I would say, are the top 3 universities in Colombia.
That's very interesting because that's why I was saying, because there you have both private and public universities at the top level, and on the other hand, in our country, Romania, only the public universities are good. The private ones, I don't think there are more than, let's say, 5 which are actually really good. They started to develop, but in the past they were even worse, and they were like, it was very easy to, you just had to have the money because you had to pay. For private ones, they were only with paying, and it was very easy to get your diploma, and it wasn't that useful actually. But that's very interesting that there are both, and still the best universities in Romania are the public ones, which are in Bucharest, in Iași, and in Cluj.
That's very good. It's good because they usually say in Colombia, for example, people who have money, they can pay for university. People who don't have money, they get help by the government. And people who are in the middle, they don't have enough money to pay for the private universities, but they still, like, they have resources, but they are in the middle. They need a bit of help as well. They need both. Yeah, and they don't get it because they're classified as having money. They're not classified.
And you
as
said
poor.
that like since you were in Colombia, you wanted to come back in Sweden. Why did you want to come back?
First of all, because I missed it. I like Sweden a lot. I was born and raised here, and I liked it very much. You have a lot of security. Of course, both countries have their pros and cons. Sweden is very secure, very clean, and it's very modern. In Colombia, I love the people. Maybe it's not that developed as Sweden, but I love the people,
there
the
are
weather.
Different feelings and different moments there. Yeah,
they're more social and happy and optimistic and everything.
Exactly.
So I really like both countries, but I was thinking that in terms of my studies, I think Sweden would be better.
Exactly.
Not only because I'm a Swedish citizen and I can study for free.
Exactly.
But also because I think, for example, I knew about Lund University, which is ranked as almost top 100 in the world.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So that was a deal breaker for me. And I was thinking about in Colombia, one of the best universities, you have to pay 5,000 euros for the semester, and they're top 600 in the world. So for me, it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
I have to pay all that money, and I didn't get that good education. Or I can come here, study for free, and I get top 100 university. It's like a status.
That's very interesting because it's very similar with my situation, exactly the same. Like I had the opportunity to study, and with my results, for sure I could get because there are this kind of tax-free spots in universities, of course, and you don't have to pay anything. They are budget. They're from the budget. They're supported by the government, and the same. I was comparing like in tops, and the best university in Romania is somewhere in top like on 800. And this one is now on 90, I think, in the world. And of course, because we are from European Union, I am from European Union, I don't have to pay for studies. And exactly the same. I was thinking that even if exactly similar that in my country, and of course because we are Latin and it's different how we socialize and we have different kind of activities, and it's fun and it's much better in this way. But when it comes to the serious things that are about career and about this important stuff for your future, because you want to have a good life where you can afford all the best things that you can do in this life, because that's why we struggle here, because we want to have a good life and to enjoy all the beautiful things that are on this planet. And for that, of course, these countries like Holland, Sweden, of course, Denmark, and so on are the best choices, and that's why I encourage you to join our NGO, to be part of Global Confederation of Romanian Students, to apply, to start doing these kind of interviews with your friends, and to start to think, develop ideas about what you have to do, to make a plan. We will help you with all the information that we gathered, and you can be here with us maybe in the future, and we can help you even from Lund to show you the city and everything. And you can of course access the money that I am taking, which is very helpful. Because of the NGO, I can take this 1,000 almost like 10,000 crowns, which means like 1,000 and a bit more than 1,000 euros per month from the Swedish government, because I'm part of the NGO and because I study here and because I'm from the European Union, of course. And all these things you can have just because you want a better future and you want to do something with your life in terms of studies and so on. And that's why we really encourage you to do this thing if you really want to have a better future. All right, and let's continue with your story, because it's very interesting.
And also another thing was one of the reasons that I choose Sweden, because I know in Colombia they have this mentality that things from other countries or imported things are better. It's like something that is from abroad, it's better. It's like oof, it's a wow factor. So I know if I study in Sweden, I can easily get a job here in Sweden, or I can get even more easily a job in Colombia. But if I study in Colombia, it will be more difficult to get a job in
isolated.
Sweden.
Exactly.
I can,
especially because you also know Swedish, which is very interesting. That's why another thing why I really appreciate you, because you know Spanish, you know Swedish, and you know English as well, which are very, very useful languages nowadays, because we see that like Spanish is spoken, I think it's the third spoken or fourth spoken language in the entire world. Then it's English, which is the business language, as they call it, and then you know also Swedish which is very important, especially here in Europe, in Sweden, and in Europe as well, of course.
Yeah, that's true. So I know that I would be, like you said, a bit more isolated if I studied in Colombia. It would be more difficult to get a job in Sweden in the future if I wanted to move in, stay in Sweden, because I know I wanted to study in Sweden, but I didn't know in my future, do I want to live in Sweden? Do I make my life in Colombia? Where do I want to live and stay?
Or maybe another country.
Maybe another country. So finally, when I graduated, I decided I'm going to Sweden. I'm going to study at Lund, or maybe in Gothenburg, which is my natal city actually. So I talked to my parents. It was a bit difficult because it's not that they didn't believe in me, but since I had the great opportunities with the scholarships in Colombia, and there's like, okay, here you have, it's 100% sure you get in, they will pay everything, they will even give you like some extra money for house and food and everything.
That's very interesting.
So they were like, you should consider maybe staying here in Colombia because you
have everything on
here.
the plate.
You have everything here.
Prepared.
If you move to Sweden, it's not sure that you get admitted to the university. You don't know.
You have to somehow start from zero, even if you are eligible for the same money that I take for the CSN.
And I wasn't sure if I was going to be admitted to the university. I didn't know. So I said, well, I still want to go. I want to try it.
Yes.
So finally, well, they supported me. And they said, okay, we will come with you.
Oh, that's very nice.
Because they wanted to help me, like to establish. They wanted to work here and save some money so they can help me. And that's what they do today. They
even if you could actually take the whole CSN, it could be maybe enough for you. Like if you take also the loan.
Yeah, you can take a loan from CSN. But they say they don't want me to do that.
They didn't
like the
idea.
No,
even if it's a very good one, and it's not a big interest rate, and they just try, like the Swedish government really tries to help the students.
It's a very good opportunity to CSN.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually very good. But my parents thought, if we can help you, it's
Why
better.
not?
It's better that we help you.
Yeah.
So I actually told them, like, you can stay. You don't have to move with me. You can stay here because they were very happy in Colombia. They have their own house. They like it very much. They're close to their
they
family.
even had a business, if I'm right.
They had their own business actually, and they were very close to their family, and they liked the weather and everything. So it's almost put some extra pressure on me because I know everything that they did for me. They moved here to Sweden, everything. They left everything in Colombia for me. So I was thinking, now I have to get admitted. What if I don't get it? They will be not disappointed, but it will be like a failure.
Even if you still did you still have the opportunity to get the scholarships after that? That was the problem.
If I don't accept it, if I reject it, they will give it to another person.
And even if you would ask again next year, they wouldn't care anymore? Or maybe?
No, because actually one of the scholarships were from like the final test that you make when you graduate high school. And you get they pay for whatever you want, whichever university you want to go.
I understand. If you have very good grades.
Another one was from a company called Ecopetrol, which is a oil company,
of course.
And they also gave me a scholarship because of the grades I had. And
also they are actually separate businesses which try to support students, and then it's this kind of like they help students, and then somehow you take into consideration to work for them after you finish your studies.
I think maybe with Ecopetrol, that's the case. I think that's the case. But the other one was from the government.
I understand.
And actually,
so they are both. That's very, very nice. That means that Colombia actually really tries to help students. Because in my country there are not that many like both sides helps, which is very good.
That's why I said, like, if you're rich, you have the money to pay, and if you're poor, the government will help you if you're smart. But if you're in the middle, it doesn't count. Like it's difficult.
Yeah, I understand.
So so when I rejected the scholarships, well, they give it to someone else. So I can't come back, go to Sweden to fail, and come back to Colombia. Okay,
so that was the extra pressure actually.
So I knew like, okay, if I reject it, I have to get admitted, and I have to, because otherwise.
Or in Gothenburg.
Actually. And in Colombia, I wanted to study international business, or maybe in terms of international relations, which seemed pretty interesting to me. And here in Lund, I found they had just opened this new program, so I was very happy. I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. So finally, we moved here to Sweden with my parents, and I graduated December 2016.
Then it was 2017, the new year.
And I started doing all the diligences, all the paperwork, everything. And in May 2017, we moved back. So I was in Colombia for about 4 years. Almost exactly 4 years. So we came back, and I didn't have the time to apply to start in the autumn.
I know. It was already
because
closed.
it was in August, September it starts. So I didn't. It was already closed.
Yeah, I know. Because also I actually applied as well for the first generation of our program, because this program started just in 2017 and we are just the second generation. And I also applied, but unfortunately the final exam that you talked about you were already having, but the only problem that I had was that I didn't have it in time. Like the last day when you could upload the documents was 5th of July, and we got the results on 13th. So for 8 days I had to study at Lund University in Sweden for 1 year. But it was still a very interesting experience and it helped me a lot, and I don't regret, but that was what was happening. And what I wanted to ask you, so you came in Gothenburg, did you have your previous stuff that you had before, like
No,
you didn't know anything?
We had rented an apartment when we lived here before. So of course when we moved we couldn't keep it. As I said before, my sister actually stayed here, so she has rented an apartment in Gothenburg, but she's working in Oslo as a flight attendant. Yeah. So she moves between those two cities. She has an apartment in Oslo and one in Gothenburg. She moves between those two cities.
So she was paying two rents, in a way.
Yes, exactly. So we moved into her apartment. We didn't have our own apartment.
Yeah, because as we know, it's very difficult to find
an apartment, and we tried to, but it takes a lot of time. So
you were lucky with this.
We were lucky
that she kept both of them, because actually she could just keep the one from Oslo, and then it could be easier for her.
Exactly.
But why did she keep both of them?
She doesn't want to live in Oslo. It's very expensive. So all her family, she doesn't have anything in Oslo except for her job. All her family, friends, and everything is here it was in Gothenburg.
I understand.
So that's why. And actually, it's pretty normal. A lot of people do that. They work in Oslo or in Norway, but they still live in Sweden.
Then they just have like a smaller accommodation there.
Yeah. Sometimes even she could live maybe 1 month in a hotel. She made like a deal with the hotel.
I understand.
So maybe in a room, they share the room with other flight attendants.
Yeah, of course, with her colleagues.
So yeah, it was better for her to keep the apartment.
I understand.
So we stayed at her apartment, and as I didn't have time to apply to university, I said, well, I'm going to work 1 year to save money,
of course,
and
then I can help you even more.
I can sustain myself when I'm here in Lund. So I started working first at a cafeteria. I was working like as a coffee barista, and then I got 2 jobs at warehouses. So I was working there in like a whole year.
That's very funny. It's very funny because you worked as a barista, but you actually don't drink coffee.
Yeah,
that's very funny. So you're making coffee for others, but you never to drink it.
And I make very good coffee actually. Like you have to do latte art and everything, and I was very good at it.
That's great.
But I never tasted the coffee.
No,
even though I know Colombia also has very good coffee.
Yeah, of course.
I can drink it, but I don't like it very much.
You don't like it.
And it's also, I worked as a coffee barista and I don't drink coffee. It was pretty strange.
Yeah, that's a little bit funny. But nice. Still nice that the customers were happy with the things that we were with the job that you were doing.
So even at this time, I hadn't got admitted yet to Lund University. I had nothing yet.
Yes.
So I was looking for almost like second opportunities. I was looking in Gothenburg, and I wanted a similar program to this in Lund, but all the programs were in Swedish. And in order to study Swedish, a Swedish program in the university, you have to know Swedish. And I know Swedish. Yeah, but I don't have
the academy. The same with the.
I don't have the grade. I don't have the notes from the school. Because I
wanted to ask you about English. Did you have a separate?
Yeah, English actually. When I submitted all my grades to like the Swedish bureau that evaluates all the notes from the foreign students, they got me all the requirements I needed to enter the university.
So you didn't need a separate...
Except for English.
That's what I mean. So then you had...
Except for English. Because there's English in Colombia, the level wasn't that good, so it wasn't enough to apply to university. So I had to take the IELTS test.
IELTS, yeah.
I did it. I took it in Colombia actually. So that's how I got the English notes to enter university. Otherwise, I couldn't have done it.
And when did you do the IELTS?
In IELTS, it was 2015 actually, I think, because I knew from like before I wanted to move to Sweden.
Yeah, you had the idea.
I
so
was
you thought that I need this one.
It was not in the last year. It was before. Actually.
I understand.
October 2015 was this.
Very nice.
So it was the same thing. So now I had English, but when I came here to Sweden, if I wanted to study in Gothenburg, I had to have the Swedish notes. So I took almost like an IELTS test, but in Swedish. I had to go to the capital in Stockholm and take the test the whole day, and it was only pass or fail. If you pass, you get like the Swedish level to study at university. And I passed, so I had, okay, now I can study in Lund, and if I don't fail, I now have the Swedish to study in Gothenburg. And
so you actually have now, you have the academic level for 3 languages. Like you study in universities in Colombia, in Sweden, and in others, like for English programs.
That's true.
That's amazing. That means a very high level. And of course, I think the people who are watching us are understanding that this is something amazing in a way, because it's very difficult to know all these words and to talk in this way, and it has to be also correctly in terms of grammar and everything. So that's very good.
And actually, to get admitted to university here in Sweden, you can get by your grades or by the final test that all the students do. So I said, well, I have good grades, but I don't know if they're enough yet. I will do the test also. So I did like the final test that all the students do, and it went average. I know to enter the university here, with that test, it's from 0 to 2 they score you. So in order to enter here in this program, I think I had to have 1.45 and I had 1.3, so it wasn't enough. So I said, okay, my grades.
Do you mean this program in Swedish? Or
no, here in Lund actually. Like for example, our colleagues from our program, I think some of them, they enter with this test.
I understand. I didn't know this thing. Not with the grade that university admissions give you, because you also have on university admissions you have a rating. You can enter with that if you have good, but if you don't have that good, you can enter with the test. I understand.
I think it's 30% with the test and 60%, 66 and 33. 66 enter with the grades.
I understand.
So almost 1/3 of the spots are given to the test. So I said, well, I'm going to do the test, but unfortunately it didn't went that well because it was in Swedish. And it was very difficult for me to make the test. I had just, I came in May, and I think the test was in October maybe or September. I don't really remember. So I hadn't spoken Swedish for like 3 or 4 years, and then come and do the test after 4 months. For me, it was very difficult.
Of course,
it didn't go that well.
Obvious.
It didn't go that well. It went okay, but I now knew that I had to rely only on the grades. So I didn't have that many points actually. I don't remember exactly how many points I had with the grades, but I thought I wouldn't get in Lund University. I was started to think like, okay, the test didn't go that well. I'm not sure if
your chance had to be in English with your grades from Colombia.
What do you mean?
I mean, like the main option for you was exactly what you actually applied with, like for this program.
With
the English test and your grades from Colombia.
That was all I had. And I didn't think it was going to be enough because I knew they were pretty high, the scores to get in. And I thought, okay, I won't get in. It will be difficult for me. So I was almost preparing to study in Gothenburg. And I was almost sure I was going to get admitted to Gothenburg and not here in Lund. So for me, I was
and then you had to make your application in October.
Yeah, I did it early.
Me too, because I already had all the grades and things like that.
Yeah.
So you did it in October 2017.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I don't remember when we got the answer.
We got it in March or
May.
April.
Oh yeah, it was
March
pretty
or
early. Actually, it was.
April, I think. Mm-hmm.
But until when I applied, all the way till May.
So your first option still remained this program.
Yeah.
And then you added some programs from.
From Gothenburg.